Or at least there's some memeable scenes in the movie. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now today we will be talking about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now I went to watch it yesterday with my buds, my bros and all of that, and I thought it was actually not that bad of a movie, and today we will kind of be going through checking all the things, saying what was bad, what was less good. However, in some cases we'll be speaking very broadly because this is a spoiler-free review, so we're not going to be saying so-and-so died, I thought that was dumb, or so-and-so didn't die, I thought that was dumb. We'll be speaking a little bit more like, yeah, I felt that one of the characters was not that well developed or something like that. Like real deep stuff. Anyway, let's get started. Now, to start off, we will just go through the characters and say what I thought of them in this movie. And of course, we're beginning with Rey because she's kind of the main character of the movie. And she is the main character of the sequel trilogy. Now, in The Force Awakens, Rey, I kind of had an issue with Rey because she was extremely powerful and there was given no explanation for this, and it seemed like it was just yeah, Rey can do it, Rey can do anything. And this movie, that's definitely a lot less the case. Rey can no longer do anything. She's still very powerful, but obviously there is a reason for this. She is the chosen one in a way, not quite the chosen one, it's, those words are not picked, so she isn't quite Anakin Skywalker, but there is, speaking of balancing the Force, and there must be an equality in light side power and dark side power, and then she's kind of the equal to Snoke and Kylo, and then of course she also has Luke on her side. This dynamic between Rey and Kylo is also looked at very much throughout the movie, and it's quite of an interesting and new way to look at how the hero interacts with the villain. Speaking of Kylo Ren, his character gets some much needed development in this movie, definitely a lot more than it got in the last movie. In the last movie, kind of came over as a kind of wannabe, while here he is still a wannabe, but he gets reasons for being a wannabe. He gets more of a backstory. Everything starts to make sense a little more. Plus, he also grows as a character throughout the movie. However, the same cannot be said for his master, Supreme Leader Snoke. Now, Snoke is quite a disappointing character in this movie. He doesn't get the screen time he needs to actually get his development, and this really affects how you perceive his character, and it kind of makes you disappointed with him overall, at least in this movie. And I know that the Emperor also didn't get a lot of screen time or development in The Empire Strikes Back, but there he was also not one of the main focuses of the plot. Snoke is sort of one of the main focuses of the plot in this movie, but he doesn't get the development he needs. In other words, we still don't know if Source Bandim is actually Snoke, which is something I really was looking forward to finding out. Now, my favorite character from the movie was probably Luke Skywalker. He was very funny with his sass and his humor and all that stuff. However, he was also very well developed. He had a good story, except for one scene like near the end, which I thought was kind of dumb and made absolutely no sense, and I think they just kind of did it to pay homage to the old movies. And I thought, yeah, you could have left that out. There's no reason why that would have happened. What do you mean? Yeah, it seemed like a bit of fan service, and then on the other hand, it was just kind of unnecessary. However, there was also another scene also near the end where he used some force powers to do a little stunt, and well, he was tricking people. There was unexpectedness, and I thought that was a very, very nice scene. That was probably my favorite scene from the entire movie. However, I can't explain what happened without like spoiling some stuff for Rey, and yeah. Anyway, if you have watched the movie, then all I'm gonna say is dodge rolls from Battlefront 2 are OP. Now, Luke is not only like the guilt you expect him to feel from like Kylo Ren's betrayal, all the Jedi, the rage, and that kind of stuff, but he's also kind of the new Yoda and Obi-Wan and stuff. He's making the same mistakes as the last Jedi Council from like way back in the prequels, and he's making the same mistakes, but he is realizing his mistakes, and he sees the errors of the Jedi way, and he's all confused. And it really takes a new look at the Jedi without going like, the Jedi were awesome, everybody gotta be a Jedi, which was kind of Luke's attitude back in the original trilogy. Now, I don't have a lot to say about Poe Dameron. He does get some character development, but what he mainly does is he challenges what people think of what a Star Wars hero should be doing. Like, he is the classic Star Wars hero, the one jump into the gun, he does a crazy ass plan, and it works just in time, and he saves everybody. However, he does this a couple times in the movie, and then eventually it doesn't go his way, and his luck runs out, and I'm not going to say whether he dies or not, because that would be spoilers, but his luck runs out, everything goes wrong, and there's no like recovering because his luck doesn't magically come back. It makes us realize that yeah, you might be the hero, but you can't just use the Force and always succeed like Rey in The Force Awakens. Sometimes things go wrong, and that is also a thing that happens more often in the movie. That sometimes people make bad choices, sometimes there's things you can't control, and it just doesn't go your way. Next up, we have Leia, and there's some things about her character that, I don't know, I feel that could have been done a little bit better. I mean, she gets a lot of respect from everybody on the cruisers, on the Resistance, and yeah, I get it, she was the original hero from the original trilogy, everybody has heard the legends and stuff, but then show don't tell. So, show us that she did certain things, tell us exactly what she did, or like in some way, instead of just saying, oh, she is a great leader. Why was she a great leader? I know that she did some stuff on Endor and stuff, but this is over 30 years later. She might have done something else good in all that time. One thing I did like about Leia's character in this movie is she uses the Force at multiple points, I believe, and I think that is very good indeed. The using of the Force, Leia had the ability to use the Force, and I was sort of surprised that they didn't do this in The Force Awakens, that Leia didn't at all use the Force, even though we know that she has the ability to, and I kind of would have preferred if Leia came in and defeated Kylo Ren before the chasm instead of Rey. That would have made more sense. She has more skill and that kind of stuff. Finally, we have Finn and Rose. Now, Finn, his character doesn't really change. He sort of gets more with it that he is now Resistance and no longer First Order. And Rose, well, she gets some character development. I mean, she is no longer the character that didn't exist in Force Awakens. She's now an actual character, so that's definitely some character development. And she also helps Finn on his journey to realize, hey, the Resistance is important, it is worth dying for, and eventually leads to Finn making his little approach on the final battle. I don't want to say sacrifice, because that kind of implies something I don't want to spoil. So, maybe possible sacrifice there at the end by some of the characters in this picture, and Rose contributes to this and kind of helps Finn really become a resistance hero, which he wanted to be, instead of just, well, kind of a coward who was ready to run away at the first sign of danger to go save Rey. Okay, the second part of this video, which is going to be significantly shorter because I just realized that this video is getting real long, is going to be about the plot. Now, I don't have very much to say about the plot. However, I do think that it was very nicely done, the plot itself. There's some unexpected twists, which I did particularly enjoy. I know that some people on the internet are not so happy about those twists. Now, another thing I really did enjoy as well was that they didn't just have one story. They had multiple stories, but they overlapped with each other so that they could all kind of come together in the final action scene. And yeah, I really enjoyed how you didn't have to focus on one, and the fact that the characters didn't know what was happening at different points allowed for these twists and turns to happen, which really made it quite interesting and not very predictable as I thought it would be. There were, I think, between 2 to 5 duels in this movie, depending on what exactly you call a duel. I would call a duel anything where two characters fight each other, but if you're down to like strict blade on blade combat, then I think 2 to 3, otherwise about 5. Now, there are some significant good ones I really enjoyed. For example, the Finn versus Phasma was very nicely done. And there was one with Luke in it, which I really enjoyed. That was my favorite scene. I already said about it earlier. He uses a little force stunt. Well, it's not really a duel, but it sort of is a duel. And there's a few with Kylo Ren that were also quite good, and a battle with Kylo Ren that I also quite enjoyed. During one of these, duels, there is a fight with the Praetorian Guards, and I thought that they would be kind of like the old Imperial Guards that kind of stood in the background, threatened a bit, but wouldn't do very much, and it looked like that was actually going to be the case. But then out of nowhere, well, not really out of nowhere, they suddenly started fighting, and there was a very epic battle scene. I quite enjoyed that duel. And there were some interesting moves, and also the fact that they all had slightly different weapons, the Praetorian Guards, and that some of their weapons like split in two to become double blades and that kind of stuff. I thought that was quite cool. Now, speaking of battles, we'll be looking at the 2 large battles of The Last Jedi, and, well, there's also like a sort of mini skirmish kind of thing that goes throughout the entire movie, but we're not counting that. We're saying there's one big space battle and one big ground battle. Now we'll start by speaking about the space battles, because I like space battles. And the space battle was meh. I thought it was well shot and stuff, and it was quite exciting. However, you have to have a little bit of a suspension for disbelief, because some ships were a lot less powerful than I expected them to be, and some ships were a lot more powerful than I expected them to be, and I was like, hey, that doesn't really make sense. Really? Then why would you do this like this? Anyway, that was not that bad. And then we also have the ground battle, which was quite reminiscent of the Hoth battle with all the walkers walking up, but it had a little bit of a twist. The walkers are not the biggest weapon the First Order has to deploy, let's just say that. And I kind of really enjoyed that battle. There were a lot of cool scenes there. The walkers looked very nice, and the little skiffs racing around, that was also quite cool. It was very well set up. The tension was building, and then the walkers came in, and there was a pretty nice battle sequence. Now, I'm kind of gonna spoil one thing here, but it doesn't really change anything in the movie. it's the very final scene, and I'm pretty sure they were going for like a end credits kind of scene, except them before the credits, because they know that not everybody's gonna wait till after the credits. I definitely didn't, so if there was an actual after credits scene, I didn't see it. But I'm gonna spoil the very last scene, and if I actually had the movie, I could do one little edit. It would be to cut this scene. This was my least favorite scene from the entire movie. Basically, you know when your little cousin or your little brother picks up a lightsaber and thinks he's gonna be a Jedi someday, and you know you're not gonna be a Jedi. Well, imagine if your little brother lived in the Star Wars world and his entire life was written by Disney, so of course he's gonna be a Jedi. And I went to the movie on this day that it was Star Wars Fan Day or whatever, so there were a lot of cosplayers there, but there were also a lot of children in cosplay. So there was this one kid in front of me, and this final scene came on, and I was like, wow, this is a real shit scene. I'm pretty sure they just put it in to make little kids feel good. And of course, yeah, all the little kids in front of me, they all got up, and there was that one kid, the cosplaying kid, and he had his lightsaber, and he was like, I'm gonna be a fucking Jedi. And I was like, they should remove this cancer right now. Now, I know that Star Wars is a kid's franchise, and yes, that is very reasonable, but this is such an obvious, useless scene that's kind of just fan pandering, and that is actually the only reason, well, one of the few reasons I didn't like part of The Last Jedi. For the rest, I think it was a pretty good movie overall. If they just cut that scene, maybe cut a couple things earlier about like Snoke, and given him a, well, not really cut for Snoke, like given Snoke some extra stuff, removed some of Luke's stuff, and then I think it would have been pretty nice indeed. I would have preferred the story that way. Now, just to wrap this all up now, I know that it's been getting really low audience scores, but relatively high critic scores, and I don't really agree with either of them. Now, the critics are saying, yeah, rich legacy honors the saga's rich legacy while adding some surprising twists, delivering all the emotion-rich action. Yeah, surprising twists, I'm going to give that to them. There was some real good twists in there. I like that. When a film kind of surprises me, I enjoy that. When it's not predictable, which I kind of disliked about The Force Awakens, that it was slightly predictable. However, it was pretty good. Now, the emotion-rich action that fans could hope for, I don't really know if it was so emotion-rich action. Oh, there were some moments where you're like, wow, that was some pretty good action scenes, but there were some moments where you're like, that was just disappointing. No. However, I also do not think that it was bad enough to get 56%. I think it's more in the about 70% range, maybe even like 75%. Yeah, I think it's one of the better movies. I definitely liked it over The Force Awakens, and I kind of enjoyed The Force Awakens myself as well. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty nice movie, and I think you should definitely go watch it. It's very fun to watch. It's just a good fun romp. Maybe if you're a hardcore fan, you might not enjoy it because it does do the twists and like kind of unexpected things, and at some points it was kind of cock tease, if I'm allowed to say that. So I guess that kind of triggered a couple of fans, and that's why it did get the 56%. And maybe there's some crybabies who are like, oh, my Snoke theory didn't come out, my Rey parents theory didn't come out. Well, yeah, they didn't say who Snoke was, and they kind of skirted around who Rey's parents are, because you know they were going to say, oh, we're going to reveal Rey's parents. Well, they kind of did, but then they kind of didn't. And one final thing I have to say about this Rotten Tomatoes business. If the average rating is 8.2 out of 10 from the critics, then why did you say it was 93%? Math, guys. Good job. And for that matter, why is the critics' average rating out of 10 while the viewers' average rating is out of 5. What is this system? Can't you do some kind of equality? Make them both out of 5, make them both out of 10. Fix your percentages on math. Well guys, I've spent almost 20 minutes now. Probably gonna be a video over 20 minutes. So sorry about that. I was trying to keep it under 10. Guess that didn't go so well. I got a little carried away. Overall, good movie. Go see it. Click right over there to subscribe and right over there to watch another video. Now, thank you guys all very much for watching, and I might have like some explanations of like battles and end scenes and stuff, but that will be for a later video with no spoilers. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.